Alright, kind of a response video to Fake Sagan. Not really responding to so much what he said in any particular video, but just the whole theme. Just see if I can provoke a response from him, see if I can get some sort of coherent answer. Really because he's probably the most rational of this group of assholes, the Codys, the amazing atheists, the Stottles, whatever, Confederate anarchist guy. It's just this whole atmosphere of futility and giving up on changing the political system, like it can't be done. And it's really irritating because the energy to get it done, it's going to require people, numbers. It's a numbers game. The system can be changed. Everybody says it can't, apparently. They don't believe it can. Nothing can change. We just somehow don't have the power. We do have sort of a democratic system. I mean, if you got the numbers, you can make something happen. And I just don't get all this turn around, walk away, especially when they're walking away to nothing. I mean, anarchy's not going to work. The government disintegrating isn't going to. It isn't manageable. It isn't as a practical matter going to get us anywhere. And if we had a civil war tomorrow, what plan is going to be implemented the day after? I mean, what new constitution are you guys going to write? Because I don't think you have a plan that's going to be that much different than democracy all over again. Maybe you'd make some refinements, and that's sort of what the thing is, though, is that what would you do to fix it? What would you do to prevent what we ended up with? And I think the key would be accountability. You would impose accountability, make the government responsive, really, as direct a way possible to people, and not in simplistic ways like, well, let's have a 3-sentence proposition that will turn into law that really won't do the job, because it'll be such simplistic law that it can't do anything productive. But yeah, representative government works if it's done right. I think it's theoretically the plan. And so anyway, I just want to provoke Fake Sagan to maybe offer an opinion on instant runoff voting. It would make a huge difference. I mean, he talks about voting third party, but there's absolutely no point in doing that until instant runoff voting exists. No point in doing it as a practical end game. There's a point in saying, yes, I'll vote third party, but ideally what you want your third party candidate to do is extort one of the two parties for concessions and then bail out. Ralph Nader had huge power and he wasted it. He squandered every little bit of it because he wasn't willing to rationally negotiate with either party for concessions. And that's the way change is going to happen to this two-party system. And it can be broken tomorrow. We can break it. It just requires enough numbers. If we become a special interest, then we can tell the party what to do. And that's the way the system works now. There's special interest of a large enough number that they will control the dynamics and can demand what the party is going to do. And so you have labor unions, government employees on one side, and you got the right-wing conservative Christians on the other side owning the other party. These special interests that are served by the parties. And so if you have the numbers, both parties are going to want to please you. And if both parties can't, then at least one of them will, because it'll be to their advantage. And so anyway, I think if you have instant runoff voting, then third-party candidates become viable. They become a real part of the game, and they're going to start changing the politics, bending the politics, forcing the parties to be more honest and more reflective of what their true values are. And I think if you also get rid of this geographic bias in how we vote, it just opens it changes the whole democracy. Because I've tried to explain to people the current democracy, legislative branch, is completely corrupted because we have this same election taking place in different geographic districts. So any ideological minority that is not segregated or dispersed evenly throughout the population, that minority has no chance of ever achieving its deserved representation in government. And by changing that scenario and getting rid of this bias towards geography and have a bias more towards ideology, yes, it would be a more contentious Congress, but it would be more diverse, more reflective of the actual philosophy of the human race. It would be a real democracy instead of the fake democracy we have now, which is really just a pop culture-ocracy. It's the common denominator, baby-kissing, bullshit, placating, compromise democracy. The compromise should really take place on the floor of the House of Representatives and in the Senate. That's where the compromises should take place. They shouldn't take place before you cast your vote. And that's the bullshit of this system. So elections can be opened up. These things can take place. And all we have to do is have enough numbers. And the Democratic Party is not too far. I mean, they can be pushed to support these principles, because some of these, most of the people in that party support representation. They support the people, we the people, and they would, even if they have to compromise some of the power that the labor unions have, they will be willing to do that. I think the parties will be able to move, migrate into a direction that provides more liberty to we the people and more control in terms of what our democracy looks like. So anyway, I'm just going the long way around. I want to make this just a quick video. I mean, these are just simple concepts: instant runoff voting and changing the geographic bias that exists in the election of legislative bodies. And if you change those two things, you can make the system much more accountable, because you'll have a lot more diversity, a lot more honesty in terms of the representation. We won't be forced to vote for these compromised candidates. We won't be given two lousy choices. And all candidates will be viable, and you know, you'll get much closer to what you want, rather than just this lesser of evils kind of crap. So anyway, the system can be fixed. We can impose accountability. We can have laws that are principled. We can have the Constitution back. All this stuff can happen, but if everybody's just going to turn away, if everybody's just going to walk away and celebrate their, I'm not part of anything, well, that's not going to help anybody. That's not going to help society. So what are you, fake Sagan? Are you another Cody? Just some little stupid ignorant punk who says, no, I'm not part of this, and I'm not part of that, and I'm not, because he doesn't have to think about infrastructure and civilization. He doesn't give a fuck. He just cares about him, because he wants everybody to bow to his artistic bullshit, like it should be cherished by all of us. And he sees no obligation to defend his existence beyond that. He should be able to do what he wants, and he shouldn't have to make a productive contribution. I guess that's part of his ideology, that somehow society can function if everybody just does what they want. But anyway, yeah, let's see if I can get a response out of him. But anyway, it's just kind of discouraging. There's just so many people that just don't get it. It's not going to get fixed if everybody decides it's unfixable, and if everybody just takes the stupid attitude of it's somebody else's problem. No, it's the future. The future is going to be your problem. Whether you live in it or not, it's a human problem. And if you're fucking human, you've got to realize that. That, you know, you're just walking away from a ton of people that are going to be subjected to shit because you chose to do absolutely nothing to prevent it. And that's just shit. It's just bullshit. I mean, doing nothing. I mean, all you have to do is say, you know, a little bit of thinking, a little tiny bit of thinking, and just to realize that there is something that can be done, and that all you have to do is raise your hand and say, yes, I'm for that. I mean, it really isn't that much work just to say, yes, I support that. Fuckers. Anyway, at the end.